inner bliss and satisfaction that comes from intense work and service for those around us. In the beginning, it's unknown to us. Welcome back, everybody. We got another reflection on Daily Vedantic for you. Today's reflection, well, actually, let me just start, before we jump into reflection, tell you a story. My wife was with her friends yesterday. I was there too, crashing the party. They did a yoga workout, and then they were doing the sauna and cold plunge in the back of the yoga studio here in Venice. Really cool spot called Open. And one of our friends had never done a cold plunge before. And I totally know that most people have never done a cold plunge before. But in LA, it's kind of, and I don't know, for people hip to the wellness scene, it's a lot of chatter about the benefits of cold plunging. So she had, the friend that had never done it before had been hearing about it. She wanted to do it, but she resisted. Then she wanted to do it and then resisted. She wanted to do it, and she had 3-4 different people telling her how great it was, but ultimately resisted wanting to do it till finally she did about 10 seconds. To her, it was all perceived cost. To anyone that's never done it before, it's all perceived cost. Just seeing a price tag of immense discomfort without knowing what you get in return. You see, without the association with how good it feels 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, all you see is the cost. You don't see any of the benefits. And the cost-benefit analysis, it's just a whole bunch of units of cost and pretty much a question mark on the benefits until you do it. And then maybe you do it a second time. Your friends convince you to do it a third time perhaps, and you start to associate how damn good it feels on the other side. I was recently listening to a neuroscientist saying that we don't know of anything on earth that can reliably boost mood as effectively as cold plunging within 15 minutes with no side effects. You might be shivering. There might be a side effect of some maybe initial shock in your first time to do it, but those words are pretty damn, that's kind of crazy to hear, that we don't know of anything on planet Earth that is as effective. Now, I haven't reference checked this. Could have just been something on YouTube and the person was talking out of their ass, but I can definitely speak from experience. I don't know of anything that boosts my mood after 15 minutes, like 90 seconds in a cold plunge. But without that association, without the 2 or 3 times building that awareness of the benefits on the other side of the 90 seconds of discomfort, benefits that for me, it lasts probably 4 or 5 hours. I'm on cloud 9 on the other side of a cold plunge. Without those benefits, you just have to maybe take a few people's words for it, review the science yourself, experiment with your own experience. But it is admittedly a leap of faith until you have that association. There's this ancient story of this person approaching a sage and prostrating, bowing to this sage. And the sage responds by bowing back, prostrating even more, getting lower, touching hands to the feet of this regular person. And this person's saying, get up. What are you doing? How can you bow to me? I'm bowing to you. You're the sage. You're the revered teacher around here. To which the sage, as the story goes, responds by saying, why would you bow to me? And the man responds by saying, well, you're a man of renunciation. You're a saint of renunciation. You've renounced the world. To which the sage replies, I've renounced the world, but what is greater? the world or God. You've chosen the world and renounced God. The idea that what we're looking for is not out there in the world, that it's in here, that the only happiness, peace, bliss that exists is that which is cultivated, an awareness of that which is cultivated and ever present within us. That concept seems like a total leap of faith when everyone around us tells us, nope, it's out there, it's out there, it's out there. Yeah, maybe there's some happiness within ourselves, but man, what would it be like if you could reach that financial milestone? Yeah, but how awesome would it be if you could just find that one person, that soulmate? Have a healthy child, then a second or a third healthy child. Get that respect and adulation from those around you. Wouldn't it be kind of great to get those? And you have to experiment and exhaust through experience that it just isn't in those things. Before we start to listen to the lighthouses that have said for thousands of years, it ain't out there. To look past, look beyond, to mitigate and diminish our desires for those things out there, just seems like a whole lot of cost. To give some elbow room from indulgence, pleasure, and comfort at every turn, instead of seeking all of those things, seeking discomfort, pursuing surrender, pursuing action and service when the world tells us that, oh no, freedom is in inaction, chilling at the beach, not striving and struggling, serving your community. When we hear that, it sounds like all cost. Because that inner bliss and satisfaction that comes from intense work and service for those around us, in the beginning, it's unknown to us. You know, the story of Judas selling Christ for 30 pieces of silver. I remember I'd always hear that story and be like, how could he do? What an evil person. How could he sell his teacher, his prophet, God, for 30 pieces of silver? And then you study, reflect, inquire within. And it is inevitable to realize we're all doing that. That is the default. Not the lone, nefarious, evil exception throughout history, but the actual default is to choose money, mammon, as it was said in Aramaic, which was the god of money. To choose the god of money, of the world, over divinity itself. That is what, at least that, take it or leave it, that's what this philosophy says we all do. But the worst part is it goes further to say we're choosing these mild, finite, infinitesimal comforts for the infinite comfort, bliss, peace that comes from choosing divinity over the world. So what connects these two things? The default of choosing the world, limited, infinitesimal pleasures over the infinite. What connects the two of having exposure to the benefits, to be able to properly assess the cost-benefit analysis for a spiritual cold plunge, so to speak. Well, what so beautifully connects the two is it's not all or nothing. You can actually experiment. 30 minutes, service for a neighbor, a friend. An hour, 3 hours of actively plunging into what you know is going to be discomfort, displeasure. A rigorous gym session, helping that friend move. And you see how that feels after an hour. See how that feels choosing to play with your kids instead of getting a little more work done. Choosing the discomfort of, all right, I'm going to say bye to my friends, and there's a group of 6 of them. We're all at dinner. I'm going to say bye at 10 instead of staying out till midnight. What's beautiful about this philosophy is that it says nothing should pass into our judgment that doesn't go through our own reason, rational, analytical inquisition of our own. Make sure that it actually makes sense to us. Kick the tires. Try it out. See if there is an association to be made with discomfort and comfort, displeasure and peace, action, intense action. As we're told by Ramatirtha, intense work is rest. Is intense action for 2 or 3 hours, is that more energizing than a nap? Than taking a load off, kicking your feet up and watching 3 hours of Netflix? You can actually try this out and go from tiny little leap of faith to see if it works, to then, as Swami will say often in his lectures, it's only a little bit of faith in the beginning and then it's corroboratory evidence. Did it actually work like this philosophy says it works? Did your own experience map to what these lighthouses have said for thousands of years? Because though it might be the default that we choose the mundane, we choose the world over divinity, there were a handful of people that chose divinity, that chose very similar fates to Jesus instead of 30 pieces of silver. So if you're feeling resistance from what these lighthouses throughout history have told us of where real peace lies, if you're feeling resistance to that message because, 3,000 times a day we're subjected to a message that tells us otherwise. If you're feeling that natural resistance, try it out. Some small fashion within your life. An act of unselfish service. An act of discomfort that you know has a chance, at least a chance, of comfort, energy, peace on the other side. And if you try that out and get to move from a tiny little leap of faith to corroboratory evidence, after that, it just becomes understanding, logic, experience, habit. I went from maybe 1 or 2 cold plunges a month to now it's one of my favorite parts of the morning every single day. And that ain't even a brag. It's just total indulgence at this point because it's moved from discomfort to such a strong association, to happiness, to a boost in mood. And that's because it's gone from such a strong association from anything to do with discomfort to almost indulgence, to boosted mood, to the association on the other side of what seems like a very, very small price up front. Maybe philosophy at large is like that. Maybe spirituality The infinite is like that. Maybe liberation is on the other side of deliberation. Comfort on the other side of discomfort. Freedom on the other side of restraint. That's today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.